In 1991, a technology validated by NASA and tested by the Department of Energy for 20 years, one that cut AC runtime by 70%, vanished from every residential construction manual in America. No ban, no study against it, no explanation. Holmes County, Ohio, August. 93 degrees outside, and I'm standing in a farmhouse kitchen waiting for the heat to hit me. It didn't. The air inside was cool. Not air-conditioned cool, something steadier. Like the walls themselves were holding something back. No compressor hum, no vents, nothing mechanical anywhere in the house. I spent 20 minutes looking for the thermostat, checked the hallway, checked the utility room, looked behind a calendar on the wall like an idiot. There wasn't one. That moment pulled a thread I haven't stopped following since. Before this video ends, I'll show you what researchers confirmed at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory in 1973, a result so clean it should have rewritten how every home in America gets built. And I'll show you what happened to that research in 1991. Who pulled it? Who benefited? And why your air conditioner is still running full cycles in August because of a decision made in a conference room 30 years ago. The fix costs $14. It's been used on 6 continents. It's been known in some form for 3,500 years. The question was never whether it works. The question is who needed it not to spread. Pull out your electric bill from last July. Don't read the fine print. Just look at the total. That number didn't have to be that high. The average American family pays $719 cooling their home every single summer. That's not the furnace, not the water heater, not the lights. That's the one bill dedicated entirely to fighting heat pouring through your roof. In 10 years, that's $7,190. In 25 years, you're past $18,000. And that's before you count the equipment itself. A new central air system costs between $5,000 and $15,000 to install. Then $150 a month to run. Over a decade, you're looking at $25,000 to $30,000. All of it going to solve a problem that by the time you finish this video, you'll understand was manufactured for you. Think about what else that money could have done. A year of tuition at a state school, a car that's paid off, a savings account with something actually in it. Instead, it went to a system designed to keep running, not to solve anything. And here's what makes it worse. Your air conditioner isn't even winning. On a 95-degree afternoon in July, the unit kicks on. It cools the air. The thermostat reads 74, but the attic above your ceiling is sitting at 140 degrees of furnace, baking down through the insulation hour after hour. The AC fights, it falls behind, runs longer, drives the bill higher, and the cycle starts again the next morning. You're not paying for comfort. You're paying for a stalemate. And a stalemate that costs $150 a month has one winner. It's not you. I know that feeling. I replaced my AC in 2019, $12,000 new ductwork. The whole system. The technician shook my hand like he'd done me a favor. That first summer, the unit ran 6 hours a day. My July bill hit $340. I called the company. They said the unit was operating normally. They were right. It was. Go to your thermostat right now. Feel the air coming out of the vent. Cold, right? That machine is working exactly as designed. The problem is what it's designed to do and what it's designed to ignore. The Department of Energy confirmed decades ago that 93% of the heat entering your home through the roof arrives as radiant energy. Not hot air through cracks, not warmth through beams. Infrared radiation, absorbed by dark shingles converted to heat pushed into your attic. Your insulation slows what gets through. Your AC fights the rest. But nobody ever stopped it at the source. Nobody ever told you that was an option. The answer didn't come from a laboratory or a government grant. It came from a farmhouse in Ohio with no thermostat and a kitchen 25 degrees cooler than it had any right to be. The Minoan civilization on the island of Crete was applying hydrated lime to their building exteriors 1500 years before Christ. That's not legend. It's documented archaeologically. Physical evidence still visible in excavations at Akrotiri. White-coated walls that survived a volcanic eruption. They weren't doing it for decoration. They were doing it because it kept buildings cooler. In a Mediterranean summer, that was survival. The Egyptians used Limewash on the exterior walls of temples and homes along the Nile. In a desert climate regularly exceeding 110 degrees, their buildings maintained interior temperatures that modern thermal imaging of reconstructed wall panels confirms were striking. The reflectance values matched commercial cool roof coatings sold today for $40 a gallon. Then there's Napoleon. When his scientific expedition arrived in Cairo in 1798, his engineers documented everything. Among their most detailed illustrations, wind towers used by Persian-influenced builders, always positioned alongside white-coated rooftops. The combination created passive cooling so effective Napoleon's team couldn't replicate it with any technology they had. Those illustrations still exist in French National Archives. In the American Southwest, Pueblo women replastered adobe rooftops with fresh mud every spring, a seasonal reapplication that maintained reflective properties and structural integrity. Communities that kept this tradition had interior temperatures consistently 15 to 20 degrees cooler than structures that let the practice lapse. I'm not a historian. I want to be straight about that. I'm someone who reads old papers at 2 inches the morning and drives to places like Millersburg, Ohio, to see whether the theory holds up in a real building in August. And in Holmes County, the reality was cool air silence and a kitchen with no compressor and no thermostat. The Amish in Holmes County don't use air conditioning, not because they can't afford it. Some of these farms have been in the same family for 6 generations and are worth more than most suburban homes combined. They don't use it because they never built a house that required it. Their roofs are metal or slate light-colored surfaces chosen to reflect rather than absorb. They apply Limewash to exterior surfaces. Their houses face north on the long axis to minimize direct solar exposure on the widest wall. The eaves are wide enough to throw shade across the exterior walls during peak sun hours. Inside ceilings are high, not for style, but because hot air rises and a tall ceiling keeps it far above where people sit and sleep. Walls are thick stone or heavy timber. Engineers call this thermal mass. It absorbs heat slowly through the day and releases it at night as temperatures drop. The Amish don't have a term for it. They just build that way because their grandparents built that way. Some families position part of the structure below grade, not buried just a few feet into a hillside. The ground holds at around 55 degrees year-round regardless of what the air is doing above. And there's the summer kitchen. A separate building detached entirely from the main house, used only for cooking during hot months. The baking, the canning, the preserving, all of it happens in a structure that doesn't connect to where the family sleeps. The heat from cooking never enters the main house. It's such an obvious idea that it makes you wonder why we ever stopped. I stood in that kitchen for a while after I gave up the search. There was a wooden bowl of apples on the counter, a window open facing north, a cross breeze that moved just enough air to matter. Nothing engineered. Everything intentional. The neighbor, a man in his 60s hands that had clearly been working since he was 8, came in from the yard and poured himself water from a ceramic jug on the counter. Room temperature. He'd been outside in 3-degree heat. I asked him how the house stayed cool. He thought about it the way people do when you ask something they've never needed to put into words before. He said, "We don't fight the heat, we just don't invite it in." I wrote that down in my truck before I left. I still have that notebook. That wasn't the end of the research. It was the moment I understood there was research worth doing. In 1973, researchers at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory ran a controlled experiment. 2 identical flat roofs side by side. One dark, one coated with powdered limestone mixed with water, the same compound as Limewash. The coated roof dropped 40 degrees Fahrenheit at the surface. The interior temperature beneath it fell 8 degrees. No fans, no electricity, no moving parts. Just a white surface and physics. And that was 1973. The Minoans had already proven the same thing 3400 years earlier. So why does it work? Because lime and light follow rules that no trade association can lobby away. All of it is infrared radiation absorbed by dark surfaces converted to heat pushed downward. Your roof turns sunlight into a furnace. A white surface bounces it away before conversion happens. Think of it this way. A black shirt in direct sun absorbs light and turns it into heat against your skin. A white shirt reflects that light away. You feel the difference in 30 seconds. Your roof works the same way except the surface area is 1200 square feet and it runs for 6 hours straight every summer afternoon. On a peak summer day, a dark asphalt roof hits 160 degrees Fahrenheit. The attic underneath reaches 140. A lime-coated surface reflects 80 to 90% of incoming solar radiation. Surface temperature drops 40 to 50 degrees. The attic follows, but there's another mechanism. One NASA discovered solving a completely different problem. In-orbit spacecraft experience temperature swings of 500 degrees, negative 250 inches, shadow positive 250 inches, direct sun. NASA developed metallized foil to reflect radiant energy back into space. The physics long-wave infrared radiation emitted by a surface can radiate directly upward into the upper atmosphere, into a heat sink, at temperatures approaching deep space. On Earth, that same sky above your roof functions as a radiant heat sink at around negative 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Your AC dumps heat into 5-degree outdoor air, fighting something nearly as hot as the problem it's removing. A white roof radiates heat upward into something at minus 60. In 2021, Professor Shulin Ruwan at Purdue University pushed this to its limit. His team developed a coating that reflects 98.1% of incoming solar radiation, certified by Guinness as the most reflective surface ever manufactured. Covering 1,000 square feet of roof with this material generates 10 kilowatts of passive cooling power. A standard residential AC runs at 3 to 5 kilowatts. The coating outperforms the machine without drawing a single watt from the grid. The fiberglass insulation in your attic pink rolls from Owens Corning Johns Manville CertainTeed, handles conduction and convection. That's 7% of the problem. Radiant energy is the rest. Fiberglass does almost nothing against it. You have been sold a complete solution to 7% of the problem. Physics doesn't care what brand is on your insulation roll. The science is that simple. So the real question is, if this has been confirmed by Lawrence Berkeley, by NASA, by Purdue, why is your house still built with a dark roof? Let me answer that directly. There is an organization called the Asphalt Roofing Manufacturers Association, ARMA. Their members manufacture the dark shingles on your roof right now. The North American asphalt shingle market is worth approximately $11 billion annually. Their business model depends on dark roofs remaining the default in building codes, in contractor training, in HOA regulations, and in public assumptions about what a normal roof looks like. ARMA has actively lobbied against reflective roofing requirements at the state level. This is on the public record. In March of 2025, a lobbyist working with the roofing industry convinced Tennessee State Representative Rusty Grills to strip the reflective roofing requirement from a commercial building energy code update. The vote passed. Tennessee, one of the hottest states east of the Mississippi, now has weaker roof standards than it had the year before. Not because the science changed, because someone who profits from dark roofs asked a politician for a favor. Baltimore fought the same battle in 2022. ARMA lobbied against a cool roof ordinance, arguing that dark roofs were more efficient in northern climates. Multiple independent studies showed that claim was wrong. Baltimore passed the ordinance in 2023. Most cities never even try. The rubber membrane industry manufacturers of EPDM, the black material used on flat commercial roofs, funded their own research to declare that reflective roofing benefits were inconclusive. They also spread the claim that white roofs cause condensation and mold growth. Target Corporation tested white roof coatings on more than 24 stores across different climates. The mold problem never appeared. Not once. It was a talking point built to manufacture doubt, not a finding supported by evidence. You are not a homeowner in this system. You are a subscription. Think about the economics. The global HVAC market generates $130 billion a year. Hydrated lime is a natural mineral commodity. You cannot patent it. You cannot trademark it. There is no subscription model around it. A 50-pound bag costs $7 to $14 at any hardware store in America. That's the problem. Not yours, theirs. And it doesn't stop at the state legislature. Homeowners associations across the country have written explicit rules banning white or reflective roofs. There are documented cases. One HOA approved a reflective roof that violated their own written rule, then hoped no one checked. Another sent a cease and desist to a homeowner in Arizona who had reduced his electric bill by $180 a month using a commercially available reflective coating. The coating was legal under local building code. The HOA rule was older than the science it was blocking. A study published in Nature Cities in 2024 calculated that reflective roofs could have saved more than 240 lives during London's 2018 heat wave. 240 people. The product that could have protected them costs less than a tank of gas. Here's what I kept coming back to. There is a pattern that shows up in industry after industry. A cheap, unpatentable solution exists. It threatens a revenue stream. A trade association forms. Studies get funded to create doubt. Building codes get shaped quietly. The solution doesn't disappear, it just stops being mentioned in the rooms where decisions get made. They sell you the problem and the solution in the same aisle. In 1991, radiant barrier foil, the NASA-derived attic technology that cuts AC runtime by 40 to 70%, was removed from the major residential construction reference manuals in the United States. Not banned, no study against it, no regulatory finding, just gone from the next edition. Think about what that means practically. A builder who graduated in 1995 never learned this existed. The client he built for in 2002 never heard of it. The contractor who serviced that home in 2015 had no reason to bring it up. 3 decades of homes built to fight a problem instead of prevent it. Meanwhile, the insulation industry kept selling fiberglass. The HVAC industry kept selling larger, more expensive systems, and you kept paying monthly for both. I want to be careful here. I'm not saying every contractor who installed your system did something wrong. Most of them learned from manuals that didn't mention the alternative. They weren't hiding it. They simply didn't know. That's what makes this different from a simple scandal. It's not about bad actors in a room. It's about a system that quietly removes options that cost it money, then trains the next generation on what's left. A 2024 report from the Smart Surfaces Coalition found that converting just 10% of dark roof area in major American cities would drop urban heat island temperatures enough to cut heat-related hospitalizations. Measurably, the report has been read by city planners in 14 states. None of them have enacted the ordinance. Tennessee just went the other direction. It was not buried because it failed, it was buried because it worked. Tennessee doesn't need to move for you to act. No ordinance, no permit, no contractor, a bag of powder, and a Saturday morning. Here's exactly what to do. If you think this only applies to people building from scratch, this part is written specifically for you. Your roof stays. Your shingles stay. What changes is what sits on top of them and underneath them. First, go to any hardware store and buy one 50-pound bag of Type S hydrated lime. Costs $7 to $14. Second, mix 1 part lime powder with 2 parts water. You want the consistency of thin milk, not paste. Stir until smooth. It will look too thin. That's correct. Third, take a thick nap roller or wide masonry brush to the roof. Apply the first coat across the entire surface in even strokes. Work section by section. Don't rush. Fourth, let it dry a full day in direct sun. Do not apply the second coat while still damp. Fifth, apply the second coat. Same method, even coverage. For a 1,200 square foot roof, total material cost is $14 to $28. Reapply every 2 to 3 years as UV and rain break it down under $30 per cycle. One thing I didn't know the first time, wear old clothes. Lime splashes and it will not come out of fabric. Found that out on a Thursday afternoon when I ruined a shirt I actually liked. Learn from that. Now the attic. This is where the 1,991 story comes full circle. Radiant barrier foil is still sold. Search attic foil or perforated radiant barrier foil at any home improvement store. A 500 square foot roll costs between $30 and $60. Staple it to the underside of the roof rafters, shiny side facing down toward the attic floor. Do not lay it flat on top of existing insulation that traps moisture. You need an air gap between the foil and any surface. Overlap every seam by 2 inches. One person can do an average attic in 3 to 4 hours. Staple gun, utility knife, no contractor, no permit, done. Total cost for the full dual system, Limewash outside, radiant barrier inside, between $70 and $90, 1 weekend. No monthly payment for the cooling it provides from that point forward. Now for the payoff. I promised you at the start of this video, Ray in Lubbock, Texas spent 30 years as a pipe welder before he retired. He posted his results on a building forum after his neighbor kept asking what he'd done to the roof. Before the treatment, attic thermometer read 143 degrees at 2 p.m. on a Saturday in July. His AC was running almost continuously. 2 coats of Limewash. One weekend, $14 in materials. The following Saturday at 2 p.m., 97 degrees in the attic, 46 degrees cooler. His AC stopped running nonstop. His savings that summer alone, $1.200. When his neighbor asked what the white coating was, Ray called it a special reflective compound. He told me later he probably should have just said lime and water, but figured that would open a longer conversation than he had time for standing in a driveway in July heat. In Phoenix, a homeowner installed radiant barrier foil. Attic dropped from 138 to 104 degrees. AC runtime fell from 4.5 hours a day to 1.8. July electric bill dropped $187 compared to the year before. Total cost, $54. Baltimore passed its cool roof ordinance in 2023, the first full summer after one homeowner who painted his roof white that spring watched his electricity drop 24% for the price of a sandwich. Lime is naturally antibacterial, antifungal, wood-boring insects, the kind that work silently through structural beams for years before anyone notices, will not touch a limed surface. King John ordered it applied across London after the 1212 fire, specifically because lime slows flame spread. You're not just reflecting heat, you're adding protection most home improvement products never touch. A limed surface weathers rain and UV, break it down over 2 to 3 years. Some people hear that and call it a weakness. The Pueblo women of the Southwest replastered every spring. They didn't call it maintenance, they called it taking care of the house. For less than $30 every 2 years, you maintain the most effective passive cooling surface known to building science. Compare that to a $150 monthly electric bill that never stops. A retired pipe welder in Lubbock, a homeowner in Phoenix, a house in Baltimore. None needed an engineer. None needed a permit. All three cut cooling costs with materials sitting on a shelf for centuries. No engineer, no contractor, no permit, lime water, and a Saturday. This knowledge is 3500 years old. The Minoans used it. The Egyptians put it on their temple walls. NASA confirmed the physics in 1959. Lawrence Berkeley ran the controlled test in 1973. At no point in that span did the knowledge fail anyone who used it. The only place it failed was in a conference room where someone decided it was too cheap to be worth keeping. And in 1991, it stopped being printed in the manuals that trained an entire generation of American builders, while the industries that replaced it collected $25,000 to $30,000 per household over the following decade. It was not buried because it failed. It was buried because it worked. If you're the kind of person who believes that practical knowledge proven on 6 continents over 35 centuries shouldn't cost you $30,000 when a $14 bag of powder does the same job, you already know what to do this weekend. Drop your state and your average July electric bill in the comments. One line. I read every single one. Not for the algorithm, because I want to know how much of this country is still paying for a problem that has a solution sitting on a shelf right now. Next week, what the Amish do with their well water. There is an internal memo from 1987 written by the manufacturer's own engineers showing they understood what their product was doing to long-term consumer costs and chose not to disclose it. The dollar figures in that memo make today's roofing story look like a warm-up act. And when you see what's in that document, this video will feel like the introduction. The lime is still at the hardware store. The foil is still on the shelf. The sky above your roof is sitting at negative 60 degrees right now, an infinite heat sink waiting to take the heat away for free. The only thing that was ever missing was someone telling you it was an option.